Welcome everyone, my name is Michi Hoya and welcome to an extended user guide for rFactor 2. Today we're setting up a dedicated server together with the user's guide being given out from Studio 397 and of course also personal experience. If you want to host a dedicated server like on a virtual machine or in general to host up a racing event for your friends, then this is the guide that you need in order to get started. First of all, Studio 397 has been very detailed in the way of setting up a server as such. So this guide can be found on the official Studio 397 webpage in the area of user guides, or if you're too lazy for that, I have of course put the link in the description of the video below. After a short introduction, the guys are getting into the business straight away. So downloading and installing, very much explained here. And you need to do this step by step. And also you need to do this word by word. This guy works perfectly if you just follow the concrete instructions. Of course, you can do some personalization in this area as well, as you don't have to create C Racing Steam CMD to put the Steam CMD folder into that. It's just a suggestion. So you can put that wherever you want on your PC. But be advised though that whatever you put here needs to be put there as well. So, pointing to the right directions and to the right directory where your files are located is very important. However, after you have cleared the first 5 bullet points here, this one is important as well. This will download the rFactor 2 dedicated app or the rFactor 2 dedicated server edition into the directory that you name here. So in our case here at Burst Esport, we have 9 different servers. So what we have put there is, Steam plus login anonymous plus Force install direction 03 MH Sim Racing plus app update and quit. Then you can sit back and get a little bit of coffee that I have done right now as well. And yeah, in the meanwhile, Steam CMD totally automatically puts all the files down. And as I already mentioned, we have 9 iterations of service right here. So this is how our server architecture is looking on Burst Esports. So I was talking about the 03 MH Sim Racing one, which is this one. This is one of 9 100% independent rFactor 2 dedicated server installations. And as you can see, it is pretty much a carbon copy of a standard rFactor 2 version that you run on your personal computer. However, since the server, of course, or this virtual machine got no your own Steam account, and you also can only log into one Steam account at a time, it's highly advised you not to run your personal server with your Steam account, because that would mean at the same time you can't join or you can't play any other game, or most importantly, you can't even start rFactor 2. For this reason, the guys around Studio 397 made this installation and the run of dedicated server 100% non-Steam account linked style, I want to say. So coming back to the guy, after you've run this command, the folder I just showed will appear. Then you need to set up some little shortcuts where you can point to different working directories within the server structure. And they are very important as well. So make sure you check them, that they are all pointing at the right direction. I will show this in a couple of seconds as well with the mod manager. Because, the mod manager has different working directories and different packages directories, and it's very important that you take the right one. Since in this case the server is already set up, I cannot go too deeply into that, but will still go into that in the appropriate moment. Before you can obviously run your servers, you need to download tracks, you need to download cars. So here is another thing. And this is also a reason why I made this guy, is it is not particularly well explained in this article, sadly, how you get the specific content on your machine. Or in other words, what kind of content can you put on your machine? There is two types of content on rFactor 2. There is free DLC, being given out by Studio 397 or third-party content creators, or there is paid DLC only being given out by Studio 397 as such. And you can host both kind of packages and both kind of Steam Workshop DLCs, or content on the server without having to log in with Steam. Hence why I said this is a total 100% non-Steam account based version of a server, because everything's done anonymously. But of course, the guys will check whether you do have the content bought for your personal use, and therefore you can run it on your PC, on your server, or you can't run it on your server if you don't have it. But first things first, when you download the guide, when you download the server, there is no user player, no user data, no player files, really nothing. This needs to be created by firing up the server for the first time. And this also requires you to download a track and the car in order to be able to build a mod, then put the mod on the server, fire up the server, and the server will then create the user data and the player folder with all its, multiplayer inis, configuration inis, all this stuff you need to have in order to run an event, to run a server, and to control it. And this is a bit difficult. Like, it is not the most forward way. They have now described a little bit. To download anything from the workshop, you need no Steam account. You need a Steam account because, sorry, you do not need a Steam account. That's what I already said multiple times, because you can anonymously download them. All we need is the workshop ID of the item you want to download. So if you browse to the workshop, the URL will reveal its ID. So we just click on that file, or we just click on that ID. That points us to the McLaren MP4-8. And I think, you know what, we're just going to take that. So what you have to do now is the thing that needs to be a little bit further explained. Because you're going to download this via the Steam command. So what you do again is you fire up a CMD. And, I already have a little template ready with workshop IDs. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I'll just fire up my drill. So put that in there. That will log me on into Steam anonymously. And now I'm ready. Well, just need to press another enter. It first fires up the Steam CMD and then logs me in anonymously. Next up, you want to download a workshop item from the app 36596, which is just the code for rFactor 2. And this is the ID, in this case for the USF 2000, but as I said, we want to have the McLaren MP4-8. So we copy this string, put that in there, then we go back on the internet and copy the ID, put that behind, press enter, and now the Steam CMD is starting to downloading that item. But beside a car, of course, we do need a track. So let's have a look at the list of tracks. Like, you have Monaco April, which is a paid DLC. Very important in general. Maybe I missed that. Your first installation is not allowed to have a paid DLC, and I will explain in a couple of seconds why. So we just pick another track that is non-DLC, something that is appropriate. I kind of always use Silverstone. In the meanwhile, Steam CMD has finished with the uploads, with the downloads. So let's download the track, and in the meanwhile, I'm going to tell you why you cannot use paid DLC to set up the server first. Looking for this into the 03 MH Sim Racing installation, as I said, this is a carbon copy of a standard rFactor 2 folder. However, if you are installing that fresh, you need to remember that this user data folder does not exist. It's just not there because it has not been created, it has not been triggered. There is no user data that Steam could have in any way perceived beforehand, so therefore there is no user data at all. But in order to be able to host a server with paid DLC, you need to own the server keys and the server unlock.bin. Both of those files being created or located in the user data folder, and therefore obviously for first use not being available. Therefore you're not able to install and run paid DLC. And I will also show you when you hit the barrier if you don't have that. So therefore, we're now going to go back to the server structure. So here we are looking at packages, where we need to put in our cars, where we need to put in our tracks and everything. In the meanwhile, you can still see the game is still downloading. So what I'm going to do is I go to that location already, Steam server CMD. You can copy it because you want to be here. Then this is all the content that we've downloaded. Of course, you see a little other things in there because, this is a server currently being highly in use. And we just pick that number. So what we find here is the McLaren MP4-8 V1.3. We put that down into the packages folder of our server. So effectively you go server, your installation, packages, and here you are. In the meanwhile, well, welcome to SteamD. Sometimes this just takes a bit longer. But I want to make sure you stay in the drill. So what we're going to do first is after we have downloaded the track, we now go into, and this is also important, you have to go, because it's working a lot better, into the bin32 folder, and there you find the so-called mod manager. You double click on the mod manager shows you everything that is installed on your rFactor 2 machine if, and this is the important part, if your working directory and the package directory are correct. Because as you can see, or as you will see once you have installed your server, the default working directory is set to server, your name here, /bin32, which is wrong. You need to make it the main rFactor 2 folder, which will be server / your name here. Same goes with the packages. They could also be, they are in default in server, your name here, /bin32 /packages. However, it is 100% important that the packages ID or the packages directory is being located where your packages are. So just where we put that McLaren into, which is, I go 2 steps back, right here. So as you can see right now, we got commentary, nations, hunger, showroom, so just some specific rFactor 2 things that have been installed previously and by default. But also we do see the McLaren MP4-8 being in there, and it said it's not installed. And this is the point where you would start to fail with a paid DLC, because I click now install, and then you can see some bars running up and saying verifying 100% and installing 100%. The picture just disappears, and now we have installed yes. If you do not have the server unlock point bin, which I already showed you in the user data, well, you can't have that because your user data doesn't exist yet, then despite showing those bars hitting 100%, you still will get installed no. Because the server, while installing and verifying, checks whether you have the server unlock point bin, and that if you don't have it, it doesn't install the content. So In the meanwhile, we look what happened to our Silverstone circuit. Timeout while downloading, as I said, when Steam CMD is extremely busy, this can happen. So we just restart the process again. And in the meanwhile, I explain what we're going to do now. Once we have a track installed and once we have the car installed, well, we already got that, then we're about to install a mod or to create a mod file and start the server. So in the meanwhile, as you can see, we have put down the Silverstone package as well. So let's have a look into the mod manager again. We click refresh on the top right. Look, here's our Silverstone. We click install. Wait for the track to be installed. And then we're about going to package a mod file. Mod file will always contain all cars available and all tracks available for any session whatsoever. So it's basically like a summary sheet that is created and tells you real rFactor 2 what content do you need, what tracks do you need, what car do you need, what specific information do you need, and then you can run it. So what you need to do now, after you've installed Silverstone and the car, the McLaren, what you need to do now is you go into your rFactor 2 dedicated root folder, into support, into tools, and you run the MAS2 file. On the top, it says create the package file. That you click, and at all times, you always want to create new mod package. You don't want to edit any existing mod package at any time whatsoever. This is just a personal advice. It may work, but it can be extremely effy. So we create a new mod package and call it server setup, because this is what it is for. You will probably not need it anymore afterwards. So you give it a name, you select the track. By the way, here you see all tracks that are available and installed on your rFactor 2. Click on the car and put it next. Those are obviously the rFactor 2 standard things. Just keep them. And then you come to this page. And now, listen carefully. At all times, for whatever reason, the file will be created in the server packages file that tops the list on your computer. As we have 9 installations here, it always puts it in 01 FSR for whatever reason, I don't know. But we don't want to have that there. We want to have that in the correct one. So we go into server, 03MH Sim Racing, or your name here, packages, pull the server setup down, click package, click install, mod is installed. So we quickly double check that. Means we go back into our mod manager, click refresh, and here you can see Silverstone and the McLaren both in use by one mod. You also can see what entry here contains, what kind of files and information it contains. So this will be very much important. I untick quickly the components, and then you only see there is one mod. And if you click on the mod, then you can see, okay, the mod contains the components car, vehicle, version 1.3 of the McLaren, version 2.1 of Silverstone as a location, and that is how it needs to look like. So obviously, if you run components as well, you have many filters up there. You can use whatever you want. As we now have the server set up, this is the part where we now start to create the user data file. So we close that, we close everything, and next up, you go into Sim Racing 03, or your name here, bin 64. Here is the rFactor 2 dedicated, and remember to go back on that to go back on the user guide here. Remember you were asked to set up some shortcuts, and this is where you need the shortcuts right now, because I have got those shortcuts down here. Say server shortcuts. All our 9 installations have the shortcuts. I click on the one I've just installed, the server setup. And while you see this picture, this is the moment where your user data gets created, because now rFactor 2 needs to have all controls on the server and everything, so starts now using the user data, well, the files from the user data, therefore creates it. I still highly advise to go through the entire process and just fire up the server real quick and see that everything is working. So here you can see the player file we're using, the server mod we're using, and well, miraculously we're now to be able to select the possible cars, which is, well, there's two different vehicle filters as per default in the mod. Different layouts per track. We only want to use the GT layout, let's say, and remove the other ones. Then at the top you can create the weather, whatever railroad presets, how you want everything to be working on. You click save, and then options. This is where you set up, rule stuff and stuff like that. Then you load the track, and then people from external can join the server. Note, if you have set up the firewall ports in your router correctly. That is on the dedicated server you run on. It is a little bit further explained in the rFactor 2 setup guide. Not in the rFactor 2 setup guide, but in the server setup guide down here. You need to do a little bit of configuration with your router and your firewall. That said, now you can pull down the server right here. Yes, you want to exit that. Closing the server, perfect. Because now you do have the user data created, and now you do have the server keys point bin. You need those server keys point bin to create the server unlock.bin on your personal machine. And this is the moment where rFactor 2 verifies that you got the paid content. So let's say, two paid DLCs would be the Ferrari 488 around Le Mans. If you want to run that combination, you need to own it yourself. And in order to create the server unlock.bin, you need to copy the server keys point bin. So we copy that. And then you go into wherever your stuff is, program files, Steam apps, common, rFactor 2, the root folder, user data. And here you find the server case point bin again. Remember, I already got a setup server, so I have done this process before. So this also applies whenever you buy new content or whenever there's new DLC content out there that needs to be bought and be run for the first time. You need to run this drill another time in order to update the server unlock.bin. So what you do is you put your server keys point bin into this folder, close the folder, you run up rFactor 2 for once, just go into the main menu, you close rFactor 2 again, and then the server unlock.bin is created. Then you take that server unlock.bin and put it back on your virtual machine, place it here, and now you are able to download and operate servers with every DLC content you do own yourself. So, while the complete rFactor 2 dedicated version is completely non-Steam linked, this is the point where rFactor 2 links to your personal Steam account and makes sure that you only host content that you also only own. That makes sense. Well, and now you can go into creating different mod packages. I'm gonna do a quick example right here. So we're fancy boys and we do love endurance racing. So what we want to do is we want to run. Let's run a track in Le Mans, and I'm quickly gonna do some other stuff. So I put that here. I just, add up some things. And we want to have, let's say, the Porsche GTE. And we want to have the Ligier, the new LMP2 car. And to be honest, just because we're really, really fancy racing boys, and we want to have a radical GT3. So now we have LMP2, GTE, and GT3 car to download. You can take all those packages, put them here, just paste them inside the Steam CMD. Did that die on me? No. Copy. And then you put it in, Control and V, and it will automatically download the first thing. Then once that is done, it will just trigger the next command. So you can, I don't know, I've added like 15 contents to the list, and it just automatically downloaded them all the way. So since Le Mans is a little bit of a big package, though, we need to wait a little in order to be able to access them. In the meanwhile, I already go into the specific folders. So we go into the packages folders where we want to put all the content in. And I also, once again, go to the Steam CMD, Steam Apps Workshop content, like, the address that has been put out there, and just wait for the stuff to be downloaded. Let's see, maybe I can speed up that process a bit. Oh, that is old mod file stuff. We probably just wait a little till the cars are downloaded. Let me see. No, miraculously, I don't have 2.6. Oh, I do have the radical here. So we put the radical already over there. So radical is now in the package folder. I still believe I do not have Le Mans ready. No, that is Formula E. There you go. The track's now already been downloaded. That's great. So here, oops, sorry. Here we are. Le Mans. There's 2 versions of that. Put it over there. See a few gigabyte and megabyte to do. Next up will be the Ligier. That is done as well. Usually Steam stuff. Sorry, that was a Porsche 911 RSR GTE. Usually that Steam stuff is particularly fast, as you can see. Multiple gigabytes been downloaded within a minute. Great. So 205, that is the Ligier, and then we have all our cars available. So the Porsche 911 RSR, the Radical, the Le Mans track, and everything. So we go back into the mod manager, we click refresh, and here it helps if you just sort with everything that is installed or not installed. So we have Le Mans, the Ligier, the Porsche GTE, the Radical, and then you click install. And since this official content most of the time does have some updates, you will now see after that everything has been installed. And remember, this will install right now because we now have the server unlock.bin. That will allow you to run this paid content. And once this is installed, currently it installs the mod track, which obviously takes a little longer than other content as it is so big, over I think 1.6 gigabyte. That was the Ligier is a bit faster. The Porsche is going to be a bit faster. So is the Radical. Once done, though, you see there's updates available. So depending on what series runs which update, You just click them again, click update, and here you go. Everything is installed. So, in order to be able to host that again, of course, you go back to server, go into your rFactor 2 dedicated root, support, tools, mass creator. You create a new mod package and call it my endurance mod. You click next. Now you can see all the tracks that you want to decide on. Let's say, you know what? We also want to race at Silverstone. So we take those two. We want to have the Ligier, the Porsche 991 RSR, and the Radical. We don't want to have the McLaren, so we don't click it. Next, the standard rFactor 2 stuff. And remember, we need to go and browse different files, server, your name here, packages, my endurance mod, click open, and here you always can see once again what is selected. Some important info at this point. At the top you can see a version that you can, like, I can also put it 2.0, like, doesn't matter. And you see the size of the current package file. The size is only 5 kilobyte because it only does contain the information about what cars you need. If I start clicking on, let's say I need to have, I want to include the track in the package and the Ligier, then you see there is the package file size goes up significantly. I advise not to do that because that is not how the system is intended to work. It will automatically download all relevant files anyway. So if you subscribe to every content, you will have it on the PC. So you really want to have small data. Just put the mod information on package, Matpocket packaging complete with no errors. You install it. Mod is installed. We quickly double check. Yes, we quickly double check that on our mod manager. Now you see Silverstone is being used by 2 mods in the meanwhile. And more importantly, you now find my endurance mod. And once again, you get a list of things that you have in this, that you need in order to be able to install the RF mod. And as I said, this is the important thing when it comes to your clients as well, because what I could do right now is I go into the packages and I take away that my endurance mod, go into my rFactor 2 root, packages, well, as you can see, I put it in. Well, so that you can really see I put it in, there it is. Then I go into my rFactor 2 mod manager. This takes a while though, since as you see the library was just mega big. So we'll have probably a short maintenance time here while the mod manager browses through my files. And those files you can give out to the clients that are about to join the server. And they can then install, put that packages file into their, put that mod file into their packages directory, then fire up the mod manager, which interestingly enough is still scanning files. And yes, I do have an over 100 gigabyte tall stuff here. So as you can see, this is only the mods to be seen for me. I got some damaged mods as well. I would probably just, need to clean up a little bit. Anyway, if I click into installed, you now find here is my endurance mod, and here is what you see that you need. I just click install, and now I'm able to join the server. If the guys are not doing this, they will still be able to join the server, because once they want to join, the server will automatically, rFactor 2 will automatically download the RF mod from the server. to show what happens if you have some content not available is when you have a damaged mod. As you can see, I do need the Aston, and I also do need the Radical, which is not installed on my machine, so therefore I cannot install the rFactor 2 mod. Anyway, guys, that gets us to the end of this guide. This is how you run a dedicated server. This is how you serve your server with content as well. A small hint, as you've seen, you always need to find out about the ID of the content. So what you need to do is you go into Steam community and go into the workshop, and wherever you are, this is also where you download, let's say, Targa Florio. You click on it, and this is the ID. So if I put that ID instead of this, then I would download the Targa Florio 1967 content. So again, on this workshop, you find all the third-party people that have created whatever content for the system. And you also find the official Studio 397 DLCs. Quickly gonna show you that as well. We go back one step on the top, look for Le Mans. And then you find the virtual Le Mans, of course. But either somewhere down there, or if not, you'll find that also by going into the collections, or not collections, most subscribed. I'm not sure if well, you can also look by the people who have done stuff. Let me see. Somewhere I should find the, why is it not in there? Let's look for another track. My bad. What you need to do to find the yeah, I'm on my virtual machine, sorry. To find the IDs of the official content is, no, you don't need to fire up rFactor 2. You need to check out for Steam, and in Steam games you find inventory, and this is where you can see your own content that you own. And for rFactor 2, then you can click, these are the tracks and the cars and everything. Here's the Le Mans track. Now I can click on showing the workshop object, and then at the top you find the ID. That is it about how to set up an rFactor 2 dedicated server. That is going to do it for this video as well. If you have any questions whatsoever, put them down in the comment area below. Please, if you do appreciate the video and if you like the content, make sure you give this video a like and share it to your friends that want to host a server using that user guide. Again, I've linked that down in the description below. And yeah, guys, that's really going to do it. I hope that this will help you to host a dedicated server with all the content that you want, all the content that you need. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.